The British touring cars got underway for race number 2. After a scrappy start amongst the midfield with a few cars trading paint, they got off. A spin straight away for Wayne Pearson in the Toyota was not exactly his fault, but still hindered his performance as the other Corolla of Nigel Foster went straight over the rumble strips. That led to a collision behind between him and one of the Fords. Senna Class, one of the Dutch drivers, led the way down the back straight towards town for the first time, as in the background David Ryan lost the Volvo and hit the tyre barrier head on. It looked a fairly clean start, but nobody accounted on Nigel Foster annihilating the side of John Smith's poor Renault. That sent the Ford going into the air of Owen Potter, and he somewhat lost his positions. This let the top two cars, the front run away in the shape of Senna Class in the Toyota and Adam Turner in the Volvo. Kevin van den Bosch managed to get out of the excursion at Tower fairly well in the Peugeot in third place. This was just the opening lap of the event. Things would not exactly improve for a few drivers, but in other cases they really did. The Ford charge that looked good in qualifying with a pole position was going wrong. Ben Singleton made a brave down the inside of the Ford of Chris Wilkes on lap number 2, but Wilkes was able to get the run round the outside of the tyre towards the Jim Clark S's. The two would fight side by side to the S's, and eventually the Ford would come through on top. This was predictable really, as the Ford was so dominant. Senna Class ran wide at the hairpin, allowing a look from Kevin van den Bosch in his Peugeot. We didn't realise how dominant the Peugeots were going to be going into the meeting. They'd already taken 2 podium places in race number 1. This battle between the Toyotas and the Peugeots would obviously not last the whole race, as the Peugeots eventually did come out on top, and well, we did indeed see them head towards a victory once again. But this was the move that was set up on the back straight. Van den Bosch sat in the slipstream of the Toyota Corolla. They went into Tower, and the Corolla just sort of ran out of road. Well, almost there it did. But next was to come in the Jim Clark S's, with Class defending the outside of the S's that would then be the inside for the second half. He overcooked it, ran a bit wide onto the tarmac there, which is fine, got forced off the track a little bit there, hit the grass and decided to do a reverse entry into the top corner and went off into the grass, allowing the Peugeot to go through to lead the race, resulting on basically a pick-up of where we left off in race 1. A few moments later, the other Peugeot, Callum Thornton, got on the back of the Toyota Corolla of Senna Class, going down the back straight after the chicane. Was sat in the slipstream much like Kevin was on the previous lap. And once again, as for the Peugeots, the opposition, well, they took themselves out off into the grass and just avoiding the tyre barrier. And this is where the Ford of Owen Potter arrived on the scene. Further back in the order, the Volvo was still going well as the battle between the two Vauxhalls continued as Ben Singleton barged his way down the inside of teammate Ray Anderson, although I'm not sure team order was particularly enforced amongst the Vauxhall team. They were being caught meanwhile by Chris Wilkes in the second of the two Fords. This was perhaps maybe a mistake from the two Vauxhalls, as eventually they would be caught. This is a bit further around the lap. The Ford all over the back of the Vauxhall charge, and something had to be done. Chris Wilkes on the back of Ray Anderson's Vauxhall obviously made Roy a little bit, angered Roy a little bit, meaning he went right round the outside at Tower of his teammates, a move that nobody else managed to pull off for the entire weekend. This allowed Ben Singleton to be left open to the Ford of Chris Wilkes, who went through at the Jim Clark S's as we predicted. He did attempt to move on Ray Anderson's Vauxhall, but I don't think he was quite close enough. Ben Singleton did try for a comeback, but it may have been too little too late. But oh no, the problem was solved for the Ford as off the road went Ray Anderson, and that somewhat scuppered the Vauxhall defence. Meanwhile, the front of the two Peugeots were fighting out like two Kilkenny cats, with Kevin leading the way, Callum in second place, with Owen Potter in the Ford chasing them down. After a near miss lapping Wayne Pearson's Corolla and possibly a change of underwear, it all went wrong for the race leader. Kevin getting one wheel on the grass similar to Senna a few laps ago, going off into the grass, and teammate Callum Thornton coming down the inside to lead the charge for Peugeot Sport. This left Kevin in the hands of the Ford Mondeo of Owen Potter, who took the invitation lovely at the left-hander down the inside, but again, much like the Corolla, ran out of road and went off towards the tyre barrier. Thankfully both cars remained on the racing surface, but it could have been a whole lot worse. The next to fall was Adam Turner in the Volvo, going off the road similar to Anderson and crashing into the tyre barrier. This was not particularly good for the Volvo, well, for Volvo in general, after a spin in the early stages. Callum Thornton lapping one of the Corollas got right in the side of it and left a few bits of paint from the Peugeot team. Next, hopefully for Adam Turner, Chris Wilkes just spun the Ford Mondeo around. One wheel on the grass, and round it went. He lost 3 places as a result. On the final lap, Owen Potter would lose the lead after crashing at the tight right-hander at the top of the course and hitting the tyre barrier. This lent an easy win, went to Kevin van den Bosch as he came into the final hairpin. He knew he had victory, so he even backed off a little bit. The checkered flag would fall on Kevin van den Bosch to make him leader of the drivers' standings after 2 races, both the races at Croft. He's the checkered flag. It wasn't all sour grapes though for Owen Potter, as he managed to get second place of the drivers' standings and managed to take Ford Mondeo to the lead of the team standings. Most impressive of all was third place though. John Smith in the only independent entry of the day. He was going to go home in third place and lead the independent standings in his Harlow Motorsports Renault, the only Renault on track. The checkered flag did fall very nicely on the Renault, and that was what we had. Next out is Brands Hatch Indy.